The night was heavy with an unnatural stillness. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath as it brushed through the cracked windows of the old house. This place was a relic, haunted by the whispers of forgotten generations, its wood groaning like an old man waking from a troubled sleep. But for Rachel, it was home, her boyfriend's home, at least. She had spent countless nights here, wrapped in the quiet comfort of his presence. Tonight, however, something felt different. The air felt thicker, pressing against her chest as though something unseen was trying to push its way in. Rachel tried to shake off the unease that had settled over her, but it clung to her like a second skin. She shifted restlessly under the covers, her mind unable to quiet itself. The soft hum of the old house, the creaking of the floorboards, the occasional distant thud, all of it now felt like a soundtrack to her growing anxiety. She had always been skeptical of Tom's claims about the strange happenings in his house. Night terrors, things that moved in the corner of your vision, and the occasional whisper in the dark. She had heard it all before. She would laugh it off, chalking it up to his vivid imagination or the oddities that came with an old, neglected house. But tonight, there was something she couldn't explain. Something in the air made her skin crawl. Tom had always spoken about the nightmares, the ones where he would wake up in cold sweats, gasping for breath, as if he were running from something. Something dark. Something malevolent. He told her about the devil. His voice, constantly shaking when he spoke of it, described the creature that haunted him, a tall, shadowy figure with an unsettling grin, a presence that seemed to claw at his soul, attempting to drag him away from his faith. At first, Rachel had dismissed it as just another nightmare, an overactive imagination fueled by stress. After all, he had gone through so much in his life, his father's sudden death, his mother's battle with depression. But now, as she lay wide awake in the dimly lit room, the doubts started to creep in. She could feel the room pressing in on her, the walls closing in with an almost suffocating weight. Turning over, she shifted in bed, hoping to change the angle of the room around her. The blanket felt too warm, too heavy, as if it were smothering her. The clock on the nightstand ticked away, slow and deliberate, like the footsteps of something approaching. She reached out to pull the blanket tighter, but when her hand brushed against the cold wood of the nightstand, her body froze. For a moment, Rachel could only hear the sound of her breath. Short, shallow, her chest tightening with every inhale. She didn't want to look. She didn't want to see what was there, but the urge was too strong. It was as if the darkness itself was calling her to look. Her eyes unwillingly moved toward the closet door, where she thought she saw something standing. Her heart pounded in her chest as she blinked, trying to convince herself it was just her imagination. But when she opened her eyes again, he was still there. The figure was tall, unnaturally tall, towering over the room like a shadow stretching beyond its limits. His arms were outstretched as though welcoming her into his embrace, but there was no warmth in his gesture, only coldness. His skin was a sickly pale hue, stretched tight over sharp, angular bones. And his face was the worst part. It wasn't human, not fully. His features were twisted, distorted in a way that made her stomach churn. A wide grin, far too wide for any human mouth, stretched across his face. The teeth were sharp, like those of a predatory animal, glinting in the dim light of the room. His eyes, if they could even be called eyes, were black, bottomless pits that seemed to pull her in, swallowing her soul one glance at a time. Rachel felt her breath catch in her throat. Her body refused to move. Her fingers dug into the sheets as she fought to breathe, the panic rising within her, clawing at her chest. She couldn't look away. It was as if the figure had locked her in a trance, held her there against her will, forcing her to bear witness to his presence. The smile never faltered. It didn't move. He didn't speak. He just stood there, in the middle of the room, watching her, waiting. The silence stretched on, so thick it felt suffocating. Rachel wanted to scream, to cry out at Tom, but the words caught in her throat. She felt paralyzed, unable to move or even speak. Every muscle in her body screamed for release, but her limbs remained frozen, as if they too feared the figure standing in the shadows. Finally, her mind pushed her to act. Blink, she thought. Just blink. It'll be gone when you open your eyes. But when she did, when she blinked again and again, the figure was still there. He didn't move. His smile only deepened, as if he were enjoying the terror that gripped her. Rachel's heart pounded in her ears, her vision narrowing. She reached for the blanket, yanking it up over her head, trying to hide from the horror in the room. She curled into a ball, her knees drawn up to her chest, her hands trembling as they gripped the fabric of the blanket. Eventually, exhaustion overwhelmed her. She fell into a fitful sleep, the kind that comes when your mind is too overwhelmed to fight it anymore. But even in sleep, she couldn't escape him. When morning came, Rachel told Tom, laughing nervously, as though it were some sort of bad dream. She wanted to believe it had been a trick of the mind, just her imagination running wild in the dark. But Tom's face went pale when she spoke of it. His eyes widened in a mixture of shock and something else, recognition. That was him, he said, his voice low, almost trembling. He didn't need to say more. The moment she saw the fear in his eyes, she knew. The figure she had seen, the devil, was not just a nightmare. It was real. Tom had seen it too, but it was different for him. He had known it was coming, had felt its presence his whole life. But for Rachel, she had thought she was safe. She had dismissed his warnings as superstition. Now, the devil had shown himself to her too. But this time, it wasn't a nightmare. It wasn't a bad dream. It was reality. Rachel never slept well in that house again. Even after they moved out, even after they left that place behind, she would still wake up at night, feeling the weight of the presence. The feeling of eyes watching her, waiting. And sometimes, just sometimes, when she closed her eyes too tightly, she could still see that smile. It never really left her. No matter where she went, no matter how far she ran, the devil was always there, watching, waiting. And Rachel knew, deep in her bones, that one day, it would come for her again. And this time, there would be no escaping.